this evening, and of course for our school board candidates for being here this evening. We know it's a little impromptu, but Megan and my name is Jennifer Fast, and this is my husband Eric Fast. We just got to talking about a month or so ago about like how do we know more about our community. We saw, like for me specifically, Eric and I have only been here in Scurry for about 3 years now. So we're still learning how things work in Scurry, where to find information. And so I think one of the biggest things that Megan and I talked about is one, community involvement, and I think two, just like transparency. Like, so for this particular thing, really wanting to know who the candidates are. I think one of the things I said at a breakfast that we were at was, well, how would I know? Other than the signs that are out there, on the side of the road or in front of houses, how would I know who these folks are as someone who's new to this community? And why would I vote for them if I don't know them? And I don't know what's important to them, and I don't know how they're going to work to take care of our schools, to take care of our students, and I think even like city council, how they're taking care of our community as a whole. So we're super excited for this. This is the first time I think in Scurry that we've ever done something like this, and we really appreciate the four of you being willing to be here and do this experiment with us. So the way it's going to work this afternoon is we have a couple of questions that we're going to definitely ask. Eric is going to be our moderator, and then for the rest of the questions, they're here. He's just going to pull a question out because we generated probably about 30 questions, and you all are not going to be able to ask 30 questions in the time that we have.
We'd like them all to be answered, but for the sake of time,
Right.
we'll just randomize it.
Yeah. So the candidates will have 2 minutes each to respond to the question before we move on to the next question. So we'll keep track of that time. You all don't have to keep track of time, but I'll say, hey, time, and then we'll move on to the next candidate. And once all four of you have answered the question, Eric will then pose the next question. Okay? And then hopefully if we have some time afterwards, for the folks that are here, if there's some questions that you want to ask of the candidates, we will open that up. If we don't have time, we'll kind of talk about how can you get those questions to the candidates for the follow-up on that. Okay. Anything else?
We appreciate you guys coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is important for our community in the long term. Value of our district. It's not necessarily the present that we can affect change, but for the future. And so, I feel that with our growing community that this is really important. So we hope that some of your questions are answered, or as Jennifer mentioned, if you have further questions, we can provide the clarity that you're seeking, and you can make an informed decision for what you feel is best for our students, staff, and community. So without further ado.
Awesome.
All right. If we could, Eric, get each one of our candidates to, if you'll share your name, anything important, if you have a child, grandchild, anything specifically within the district, we'll give you an opportunity to answer a couple more questions. But if you all could just give a very brief introduction, that would be helpful.
Yeah, let's start with that, and then also the first question, just what motivated you to run? So we can each go through there. Take it away.
My name's Glenn Levacy. I lived in Scurry, I think 13 years now. Originally from Kemp, wife is from Crandall. We settled, 12 years ago in Scurry. We have one son, he's 8 years old. Second grade. He just waved at everybody, So when Hunter started kindergarten, Jen and I wasn't really involved in the community. We had lived here, but until we had kids, we didn't do much with the school district. Kindergarten started, and first day of kindergarten, PTO, different events. So Jen and I just started showing up, and just kind of went on that through first grade, got more involved. Second grade, we have been more involved. I'm on the Education Foundation. I do the mentorship program for the kids at the elementary school. And basically for me to run was, when I started being able to do the mentor program at the school, I got to know all these kids. And then I helped coach basketball. And one of the things that struck me was, I have other friends in communities, say in Forney, they're not allowed to go see their kids or have lunch with their kids. And man, I just got to talking to Jennifer about, I really love that we're able to still show up and still have the kind of the small town feeling. So ultimately for me, I want to run because I've seen what's happened to Crandall. I see what's happening to Kemp, and I don't want that for Scurry. I want in 10 years when Hunter graduates for this still to have the small town feel that we currently have. And that's what made me want to run for school board. Not saying anything's wrong, but if I can have some hand in keeping it like that, that's what I want to do.
My name is James Moeller. I got on the board 3 years ago. It was, they were having a bond at that time, and I went to some of the board meetings and listened to some of the information, and I just wasn't satisfied with the answers, and I decided that I'd get back on the board. I'd spent 15 years on the board from 1989 to 2004, and I just thought that I had the experience to come in and see what was going on, see if things needed to be changed, and that's what I did. I came on and we started looking things over, and there was a lot of things that needed to be fixed, and that's what we've been doing over the last few years. We've done a lot of good things for the district, and I want to stay on the board to try to continue that with our new superintendent. That is really awesome, and I think we can move Scurry forward in a way that everybody will be proud of the school.
Catherine Yates. I have 2 kids in the district, 2 girls, one's 16 and one's 11, so they're a junior and 6th grade. Been involved with the school from the time Alyssa started kindergarten, so it's been a while in different capacities, and so always kind of thought we'd maybe be interested in going running for school board, but as Megan gets older, she is we have less like SRISD, less like night practices and weekends, and so Scurry's facing some challenges like most places. I have a background in being on different boards and working at a corporate level with budgets and all of the things, and so I just kind of thought that I could help in a different capacity and have the skill set to do that.
Drew Sloan. I was elected first term in 2022, and I really didn't have an agenda then, but the bond, like Mr. Moeller said, the bond was it's kind of tricky for the community. It failed pretty bad, and that's what made me decide to run for the board. I really, other than just wanting to be involved, and I didn't like the transparency at the time, and I think since mine and Mr. Moeller's time on the board, and I think we've done a lot of great things, a lot of great things to come. I really have no agenda. I believe green and white, and I want what's best for our community, our school, our businesses, the town. There's everything, and just I have no agenda. I have a wife, 16 years, 2 kids, 7th grader and a 3rd grader, and yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you all. Our first question here is about personal values. Can you speak a little bit about your personal values aligning to the mission of the district? Let's go the same order again.
Okay, personal values. I hate that I'm starting.
We'll switch it up next.
Yeah, so personal values so when we had Hunter, I think our only goal we talked about was raising a good human. We want to make sure that he grows up and is a good husband one day and is not tied into the things of the world that we all see that is not come to Scurry just yet. Personal values is God first, wife second, and Hunter comes third. My values for the district is going to kind of fall in the same place. If it doesn't benefit the children, first and foremost, why would we make decisions that didn't involve the children of the staff? I don't understand that. I'm not saying that that's been done, but there's nothing about anything that I want to bring to the table. If it doesn't affect them positively, why would we do it? So values is, ultimately for me, like I said before, I want to keep a small town. I want to make sure that we're raising good little men that grow up to be good men, little girls that grow up to be good women. I think that's the values we preach in our house, and that's what we want to bring to the district.
My values are, I want the district to grow kids, to enable them to, when they leave the school, to be, prosperous in whatever they do. For disclaimer, Megan's my daughter. And I've got a younger daughter. Both of them went to Scurry all their life. And Megan's the top salesman for her company, and my younger daughter is a pilot for Southwest Airlines. I want for every kid what I want for my kids. I want them to be educated. I want them to go out there and be successful. And I think throughout my tenure, the first 15 years and in this last 3 years, it's the same. I want what is best for the kids at Scurry-Rosser. And in order to do that, we have to be mindful of our budget. We have to have money so that we can pay our teachers well, that we can provide the facilities for the kids. And so, that's why I'm on the board, to make sure that we stay the course and we're one of the top schools in this area.
In our house, we focus on honesty, kindness, and integrity. So a common question in my house when the kids step a step in the wrong direction maybe is, is that integrity? Is that doing the right thing even when nobody's watching? And so those are but kindness and honesty too. And so those are our values in our house. For the district, I want to see that our kids are able to, that they're prepared to be successful by the time they graduate high school. And that means different things. Again, in our house, I tell my kids, as Alyssa is approaching, her senior year, we talk a lot about, her purpose is somewhere where her talent and her passion crosses paths. And so that doesn't mean you have to go to a 4-year university. It doesn't mean you have to go be a doctor. But what are you passionate about, and where does your talent lie? And let's follow that. And so I think it's defined differently for everybody. And so I would just like to see various career paths being offered, and us providing a path for the kids to be able to follow that and find their purpose as they enter adulthood.
One of my personal values is accountability. And that's a big thing for me. I don't like being lied to. I don't like our teachers being lied to. And it's integrity and accountability. And on my time on the board, we've been faced with some stuff where we've had to take action on some accountability stuff. And it's never easy to do. It's hard. And but we had to do it, and that's a personal value of mine that I hold high up there is high standards. As a board member, we hold ourselves to high standards, and we expect our administration to hold themselves to a high expectation. And accountability is a big thing for me, and I think if we can, hopefully that accountability can bleed down through our teachers and students. And as far as the mission of the district is, it's accountability means a lot to me.
Thank you. I've got one other one before we kind of go to a randomized. It's just how do you? We'll start with you, this time, Mr. Sloan. How do you separate your commitment and duty to serve from gossip, from being part of that?
There's been a lot of that lately. It's difficult. I guess you just got to try to get the truth out there when it comes to something like that. And as far as the gossip is, you just got to know the truth. We have a great team of administrators that we lean on a lot for stuff, and that's a tough question to answer. But gossip a lot of times is BS. That's what it's been lately. And I would say just, lean on our administrators and find the truth.
And I definitely recognize that as an important one. If I could push it just a little bit more, how do you personally handle it? When you hear it, what do you do about
A
it?
lot less sleep at night.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just try to get the truth out there. Try not to take it personal, but it's hard. Try to just get the truth out there. And it's been challenging lately. Yeah. But so I won't give up. I won't give up.
That's-
And get the truth out there. And I invite everybody to come to our board meeting when we leave here at 5:30, and come here, there. Come hear stuff from there.
Okay, time.
I appreciate it. I know I pushed you quite a bit on that one.
No,
And it's a subject dear to people, and you guys are looking at privileged seats, even though it is open for everyone. I want to ask you guys that. Ms. Yates, you want to?
This one's easy for me. You kind of dispel some of that by increasing transparency. And whether there's gossip or there's questions or, what have you, I call it the scurry court of public opinion, is, you just make the right decisions and you continue to make the right decisions for the right reasons, regardless of what's being said and being discussed. And as people ask questions, I'm happy to answer them. But an increase of transparency helps dispel a lot of rumors.
I can ask you just to follow up on that as
Sure.
well. Do you have a thought on how you might increase that transparency? How you might handle that sort of a thing? What would you do a little differently?
I think it depends on the situation and what information is lacking. So, what are we talking about here? So, it can always be something different here in Scurry. Decisions are made and then there's questions. Maybe everything is not just because, like Drew said, we can all go to the school board meetings or we can all go to, SRSA or PTO meetings. It's open to the community, but that doesn't mean we're all in every room. And so things can be mistranslated quite a bit. And so, we have the opportunity, but what is the situation and what information has been misconstrued? And then I would just lay it all out there and clear it up.
I guess, I didn't say it earlier, but I worked for the Mesquite Fire Department for 33 years, and I worked in the fire marshal's office. And in investigating a fire, you don't form an opinion on the first thing you see. You go deep into whatever it is and you find out all the facts. And once you get all the facts, then you put it together and you find the truth. So if you got gossip out there, you need to go and hear all sides of the story. Go to the person that's gossiping and then go to the person that's being gossiped about. A lot of times it's things that are said about some of our faculty or administration, and you need to make them aware that it's out there so that they know and then find out all the facts of the gossip, and then you can get to the truth. And once you get to the truth, then you can end all of that.
And from your area, with the wider community, it is kind of a big space to be able to communicate. Do you have any thoughts on how to increase that communication?
Well, for one way is right now the district is going to a new website, and on that website it's going to be a better way to communicate. Whenever something's put out, it won't just be on a Facebook page. It'll be put out on a text, on an Instagram, on an email. So there's going to be multiple ways that it's sent out to the people. So if there's a question about anything, it should be transparent through all of the different social media apps that we'll be using.
I like this question. So when it comes to gossip in our house, we have a rule between us and our family, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Secrets don't make friends. Anytime we have a gossip going around amongst the family, or I've been self-employed for 25 years, if one of my vendors, someone has an issue, I call them directly. Hey, what is going on? Let's discuss this now. I don't want to hear it from the guy down the street. And I think that's the thing, transparency and just some honest conversations. If we can talk about things if I need to call Nancy Dugan over there and ask her a question because something happened, I'm gonna call Nancy. I'm not gonna call Jennifer and ask about Nancy. I think that's how gossip is spread everywhere. Have the difficult conversations. Call the people who is in the gossip ring. If someone calls me about Drew and says, hey Glenn, Drew said this, I'm gonna call Drew and ask him, hey Drew, did you say that? The answer's gonna be yes or no. Transparency is the key. A little bit of integrity goes a long way. I don't understand why in the past 4 days I've received more phone calls, not all bad, but when my name got put out there running for school board, people want to call Glenn Levacy. Here's the thing, I'm not on the school board currently. I don't have answers to their questions. Hey, you need to call someone who's actively on it because I don't know yet. I hope to get to know and have more knowledge on what's going on, but as of now, it's just gossip. Why are you running? Why do you think you need to be on the school board? Well, easy now, why are you coming at me? So I think just, there don't need to be secrets in our school district. If this organization doesn't like what this organization is, let's not talk about it, let's call one another and figure out what we got going on and resolve it.
Time.
Perfect.
Sorry.
I could have went on with that one.
Yeah. You like that one? That's a good question.
I didn't say it.
Moving on to the random ones. So we've got a few different categories here. It's randomly like curriculum and instruction, equity, school safety, governance. We got just a whole bunch of different ones and just pull one and go with that. So the first one, we can start with you, Missy Yates, and we'll go to Mr. Sloan and around. Let's try to switch it up a little bit. How should the district approach issues like book challenges or curriculum censorship?
I want to do a disclaimer before we get started.
Okay.
Because a lot of this stuff is mandated by state law now. So we have to follow the state law. And if we don't follow it, they cut our funding. So it's kind of a hard question to answer. It's really, that question is really more for your state rep or your state senator to answer than a school board member, because we're required by law to do what the state says when we look at funding. So I would say, what about another question?
I would argue that, well, I don't disagree that the district has to follow the law. I do think that the school board is responsible for helping to interpret that law and communicate that within the school district and to the parents and teachers and administrators. So I personally would still love for the candidates to answer the question.
Why don't we go forward
Well,
with
let
it?
me,
You can
let
choose
me,
to-
let me say that there's a list of books that's sent to the school district by the state that they tell us to take off the shelves. And that's, we have no choice in that.
Sure.
I mean, yes, we all have a philosophy about this law, but as a board member, we have to follow the law.
Yeah, I'll leave it to the rest of the board then, or the candidates. Do any of you wish to answer anything on this further?
I mean, I can answer. I'm a rule follower, though. I would be prone to follow laws that do not open us up for a lawsuit or any kind of fines or anything like that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of censorship. Honestly, I think our job is to teach kids to think, how to think, not what to think. And so some of the, there's been some chatter, which I haven't seen, so I'd love to see a list, but a lot of chatter around books getting banned. Not a fan of it. I think diversity and, some of that curriculum, that's diversity and history, literature, all of those items, like those are cornerstones to also like how to think and innovation, and you never know what sparks kids' minds to go down a path that they need to follow. Not a fan of censorship, but I would not put the district in jeopardy of a lawsuit.
Either of you? Good.
I will say this. my son is 8 years old. And if Jennifer runs a book fair for PTO, Kathy's been involved. Some of the books that they send from Scholastic promote stuff that I do not want my 8-year-old son learning or knowing about. He's 8. He don't need to know about the transgressions that are going on in the world. So I wholeheartedly am against us teaching our young men and young women the things that they don't need to know anything about at 8 years old. Now, I don't know at the older curriculum what they're teaching. I haven't been involved in that yet. But there are stuff that I find inappropriate for our young kids to know. The world is going to teach them too much, too fast, too quickly anyways. So I will leave that there. I don't want no one being in trouble, but I'm absolutely against them teaching our young kids things that they don't need to know at 8 years old.
All right, our next one. How do you think the board should handle teacher concerns about workload, pay, or professional development?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. How do you think the board should handle teacher concerns about things like workload, pay, or professional development?
I think teacher concerns go through a natural hierarchy in the district. I think it's built that way. I think it's similar in other career paths that, you would want to go to your manager. I think in the schools, that would be the principal and then maybe the superintendent and then on up the ladder. And then if those items aren't addressed or unfairly addressed, then you could go to the school board level. But if they go straight to the school board with their immediate concerns, we're gonna go right back to whatever level reported at that next level to start having those conversations and circle back around. And so what those concerns are, I would definitely, if we're not addressing them within that hierarchy of what is already laid out for them, definitely, bring it and then we'll make a list, we'll address it and make sure that all of those concerns are addressed.
This is pretty easy for me. This is not school board members' job to do that stuff. And back to accountability, we're gonna hold our administration accountable for doing those things. And when there is something that teacher concern, our principal, like, put them on a growth plan or something, but it's not our lane.
Just to ask you one question on that, how do you ensure accountability on it? How do you make sure the principals are doing it?
We get reports, and that they'll report to us that there's been a problem with a teacher and they wanna put a teacher on a growth plan or whatever. And, we're notified, we'll be notified about that from usually our superintendent. And then you kind of play it by ear there, and then at some point if there's, it'd be a grievance level, and the school board is a level 3 grievance, and that's usually where any problems would lead to. So at that point, that's where we would get involved in. We rarely get involved at that level. Very few times.
I don't have a lot of knowledge on how the school board operates with teacher salaries. I've never been on a school board before. So I imagine it goes to the principals and then to the superintendent, and then it has to escalate from there. But I can't answer a lot on that particular question because I've never been involved in it before. I'm hoping to be, but when it comes to teacher salaries and that kind of stuff, I feel like if I said a bunch on it, it's just going to be me guessing. I don't really have a lot on that one because I haven't been there yet.
Repeat that question.
Yeah, sure. How do you think the board should handle teacher concerns about workload, pay, or professional development?
Okay. A lot of that, we've got processes in place where they can go to their first line of supervision, and if they don't get the answer they want, they can go up the process until they get to the school board. As far as teacher pay, workload, a lot of that, the workload and everything is going to be determined by the superintendent and the organization below him, principals and such. So they're always looking at that. They look at the classroom sizes, and they look at, if the classroom is too big, and make sure that there's an aide in there to assist the teachers. As far as teacher salary, the base salary is set by the state of Texas. The supplemental salary is based on what the school district can afford to pay in their budget. And each year we take a look at it when we get our certified tax roll from the county, and we see if there's anything in the budget where we can increase their pay. And in the past, we've made some, initiatives where we give them some extra bonus pays at certain times of the years to help them out. The board and the superintendent are always looking at ways to help the teachers.
All right, our next question. How will you ensure qualified personnel are in place to comply with safety requirements? I'll speak to that one first, Mr. Miller.
On our safety requirement, we have got one of the best police departments, I believe, in the county. Every officer in our county is a certified law enforcement officer. We get money from the state. The state sends us safety money. It doesn't pay for everything, but we get a safety grant from the state, and that's basically how we pay for a lot of the things. Our police chief he's in charge of a lot of the security, the key fobs, the camera systems. We have safety audits from the state, and if we have a deficiency, we have to write a report to the state and what our correction's going to be. So we're lucky. We have a really, really good safety department here at Scurry Ross.
You want?
Yeah, so I would ask the question, what problem are we trying to solve? And then I'm a data-driven girl. I work in finance, and I'm a project manager. So it always start with what's the problem we're trying to solve, and then fill that gap. And so, we want to make sure that our kids are safe, and hiring the correct personnel will depend on what gap we're trying to fill and what problem we're trying to resolve.
I think when it comes to this, we leveled up not too long ago. And he's sitting right over there. He's been a big asset to our district. Burley, we're glad to have him, and we lean on him for a lot. This is his lane, and this is what he's best at. And I definitely like where we're at on our safety stuff. And like I said, without saying too much, we leveled up not too long ago and made this district better. Don't push me. Don't push me. I don't say anymore.
Good. Why did you?
I've never felt Scurry was unsafe. Now mind you, most of my experience is at the elementary level. I've been to that school 100 times. They've never let me walk into that campus, and they know me. So I don't know how the process works with the district with hiring security, and when they went and did all the windows. I don't know how all that took place because I'm not on that part of it yet. But I've never felt Scurry was unsafe. But to kind of piggyback off what Catherine said, if there's a problem, what is the problem, and how do we address that problem? I think she hit the nail on the head. Well, let's figure out what the problem is, if there's something that we're lacking or we need, and then we fix it. But as of right now, from what I've seen, I feel like we're doing a good job as a district.
I would say there are safety audits from the state that we have to do comply with.
All right, our next question is, what's your view on transparency and community involvement in the budgeting process?
I think transparency is key on pretty much everything. Now, when it comes to the budget process, I don't think the entire community should be involved in what each teacher is making or what they're bringing home. I wouldn't want anyone knowing what I'm being paid. I do think transparency as a whole, hey, we're gonna pay our teachers this allotted amount, but I don't think the community needs to know how much each teacher is making. I don't think that'd be fair to our teachers for that, or coaching staff or anybody else for that matter. I think transparency as a whole would be good, But I don't think we can break that down on an individual basis. I don't think that's fair to the person who's receiving the funds or to ask us to do that anyways.
Yeah, and the way I take this question, at least, is not necessarily to that level where
Right.
you're talking about individual persons, but in terms of looking at the budget allocations and having a community involvement. I think the question is, what's your view on community involvement in trying to right size for like safety concerns versus a large section?
I think that is, I think too many chiefs and not enough Indians can always complicate any situation. I don't think we can have 30 people deciding on a budget. It just doesn't work that way. Trust the elected officials that we have, that they're gonna make the decisions that are best for the district. And if someone, if they don't like what's happened, when school board's up, come run, But I think having too many people trying to make one decision is a bad thing.
So whenever we set the budget, we have budget hearings, and it's open to the public for comment or whatever. So they can go get a copy of the budget and look at how we're spending the money, and they're more than welcome to come to the budget hearings and comment. We have it every budget year. And before we finalize the budget, before we put it into effect, we have at least one, and sometimes two hearings, just for public comment. We try to be transparent. Anything that we do, you can get it through the Open Records Act, and a lot of that stuff with our new superintendent, I don't even think you'd have to go through the Open Records Act, because he's so transparent that he's gonna give it to you. There's nothing hidden anymore in Scurry. It's all out in the open. So if you want it, unless it has to do with some kind of confidential deal with some kind of student discipline or like that, you're not gonna get that. But anything that we can give to you that doesn't have to have a court order or anything else, you're gonna get it. And we wanna be transparent, because we want you to know that we're spending your money right, we're spending it in the right ways, and we just want this district, if we don't do it right, this district's not gonna be able to do the things that they need to do.
You've got the largest background of the candidates here, so if I can ask you a follow-up on that. You talked about the budget hearings. How much involvement have you seen historically?
Very little, very little, and
Less than the amount of people in here, I promise you.
yeah, there's not, yeah, and it's not, and we welcome it. We wouldn't, we wanna hear, we wanna know what people are thinking, because that's how you formulate, what are you gonna do next? What are we gonna do for the district next? What do the people want? But we have to hear from them so that we can look at it and see if we can do some of the things they wanna do.
Barry, I think it's problematic to try to involve a whole community in a budgeting process. I was trying to get some documents for work approved quickly this morning, and even in that capacity, where people were aware of what we were going to discuss, I still tried to keep the meeting small so that we could get it approved quickly. But I do think that, Scurry's an involved community, and we should open it up, and I know that it is through budget hearings and things, but, if there are concerns, maybe we advocate for people to send in their concerns ahead of time so they can be taken into consideration. Maybe that's a way to increase transparency. I also think maybe once the budget is approved, if it's put out there, maybe, hey, we identified the top 3 gaps, and so this budget is going to address those 3. Maybe that can help increase transparency, but I do feel like transparency is very important, and I know that it's been a topic of conversation, so that might help.
I think they covered everything. I was just, fun fact about our budget is 80% is our employees. 80% of our budget is employees made. Fun fact. But they covered everything. Yeah, the budget hearing, nobody shows up.
There's one thing on the school website, the budget is on the school website. So if you wanna go look at it, it's on there. It's not broken down to line item, but it's by different departments and stuff. So you can take a look at it, and like Catherine said, if you advocate for things that you want, we'll see what we can do.
I do have to say, you mentioned the new website earlier, and I do find it a lot more accommodating for finding information. Maybe speaking for others as well, but being able to access that information.
It is a lot better.
Yeah.
It is.
Did you have anyone say?
I'm good. I would just maybe say, I've learned a lot about budget the past 3 years. It's very difficult. School finance is extremely challenging. It changes yearly, sometimes multiple times in 1 year. But we ask for transparency from our admin to be transparent with us, and we trust them that they're the experts on a budget. So and then we look it over and go from there. But, you know, I don't know about the community. That may be too much.
I think my better half may be asking another question of, we've heard a lot about tighter budgets and reduced funding and everything like that. Do you have a sense for whether this is gonna significantly change in the future, or is
So
this
I would encourage everybody to learn more about what's going on right now within the state legislation. What's been going on the past 4 to 5 years. The whole voucher program, I don't wanna get into it, I'll get mad. But it's, public schools have been underfunded for a while. And this year, we adopted a $200,000 deficit budget. And 74.5% of the schools in the state of Texas adopted a deficit budget. And that's not because they're all making bad decisions, being non-transparent with their communities. That's because they're underfunded from the state. And there's a lot more to it than that, but vouchers are fixing to come, and I think money is fixing to come. So it'll be helpful to everybody in the state to get that funding, to try to get caught up on some of that funding. But we did indeed adopt a $200,000 deficit budget, and we hope we don't have to do that next year and try to make changes to make that better. I feel real comfortable about our new leader of this district, very knowledgeable of that, and feel comfortable with that for sure. But moving forward.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I couldn't
Can I add
ask you
something
guys,
to
yeah.
that? Because I was with the superintendent last week. And originally, when he got here, he thought we were gonna be way more than that. And we are, but it's not as bad as he thought. He thought we was gonna be like $2 million in deficit. It looks like it's gonna be less than 900,000. But part of it is the way they moved the money around. We had a construction fund, and we did partial air conditioners on the high school, and a new roof on the elementary, and a new roof on the middle school, and we spent $750,000 there. So when you take that out, it kind of gets us back to where we had originally planned.
He referred to that at the meeting that day as a burn rate. And when he first came on, we had just paid for some of that stuff. It was kind of an alarming burn rate with the money that was going out versus what was coming in. And I had a breakfast with him last Friday, and it's not as bad as what he thought. That burn rate in the last 2 months has came way down, and he's more comfortable. And vouchers are here, state funding is coming, and yeah, but Google some of that, and y'all learn a little bit about it. It's very interesting what's going on right now in the state.
Yeah, I do pose that. I
It's alarming.
brought this up, so if any of the other candidates want to mention anything about the future, what you're seeing is things we have to be mindful. As Mr. Sloan mentioned, there's a lot going on there right now.
I don't have enough knowledge on it yet to be able to speak on it and really have confidence in what I'm saying.
What was the actual question?
I was actually just more of a follow-up, giving you an opportunity to speak about the future budget. So we talked a little bit about the transparency and community involvement in the budgeting process. But then if you wanted to speak a little bit about the upcoming kind of fiscal tightness that's it's kind of a rumor, people are talking about, there's a lot of legislation going on right now. The vouchers obviously coming in place. Just what that entails for our budgeting process in the future.
Yeah, if we're, talking about the tight budget and how we would handle it, I think we'd have to see it and see For me, I would wanna look at the budget, wanna know what our biggest gaps are, where our biggest concerns are in the district, and then align those to see what we need to prioritize. I mean, I can tell you how I would go about it, but I couldn't tell you what I do today.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense. Next question is, how will you hold administration accountable for creating a positive and open classroom and campus environment? Let's start with that one.
I think that's easy. I think it goes back to raising our kids at home to be young men and young women, and hopefully that's enforced at school. I don't, if our teachers, our principals, the people that are with our kids, a third of their youth are not instilling the values that we all try to instill in them at home, then that's the problem. I don't think it would be too difficult in a school district the size of Scurry to pinpoint someone that wasn't aligning with the values that we all hopefully have with our own children. And if that's the case, as a whole, I don't think it would be too difficult to replace that individual. Some things are cut and dry. I don't think there needs to be a huge debate on what we are and are not promoting to our young. I think good values are good value. There is no gray area there. One day they're all gonna have to grow up, be husbands and wives, and lead our community and be sitting in the same seats that we're sitting in right now. And if the people that are with them, a third of their youth are not doing that, they probably don't need to be with them. Just my thoughts.
Repeat that question.
Sure, it's a long one, right?
Yeah.
How will you hold administration accountable for creating a positive and open classroom and campus environment?
Okay. It starts at the top, and we have what we call the Team A, which is the 7 board members and the superintendent. And it's up to us to set that positive attitude. And from there, the superintendent carries our vision out to the principals, and the principals should carry it on out to the teachers. For the classrooms are positive, the kids want to be there. School can be fun and it can be a learning experience, but we have to be the ones that set the example. And our vision has to be carried out by the superintendent and the organizational chart below us.
I think the open classrooms and the positive campus environments are important. There's a lot of studies that show your most successful school districts are those that have a high level of parent involvement. And I think that's characteristic of Scurry, and when you start closing that off, you start losing some of that involvement, and you're gonna lose some of your success. I would cross that with, what are our current policies? What are our safety concerns? But if we have a safe way of people coming in and out, and we're scanning their license and background checks are done, and we've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, then there's no reason to not have an open, positive environment. And it actually helps our district, it doesn't hurt it.
The way the question reads right here is, how would we hold administration accountable? And I think, like Mr. Moller said, we have to hold ourselves accountable to help create that atmosphere. But I think that falls on the superintendent that's there every day and sets that pace. He's in the classrooms and on campuses. And I think that superintendent has a lot to do with that. Superintendents are human. They're all different. Some are good at that, some focus on other things. I think we got lucky and got one that's pretty upbeat on this type of stuff. We'll hold him accountable for keeping up that pace and not getting relaxed in a couple of years. And hold him to that pace and hopefully improve on that positive campus environment.
Keep him doing his dance videos.
That's right.
That's it.
There you go. There you go.
With that, we need to be wrapping up here, so I'll turn it over to each of you to do just final remarks. We have early voting starting tomorrow, so just what would you want to leave with people for them to make their choice going to the ballots? We'll start with you this time, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank everybody for coming. Thank you guys for putting this together. We've never done this. come to our school board meetings. You know, come and be a part of it. I wish we had this many people at every one of our meetings. We're actually tonight, I think we're hiring a couple new administrators. It'd be good for everybody to meet them. And just encourage everybody to get involved. And just know that everybody up here wants the best for this district and wants the best for the kids. I'm no different. And in any of us three that get elected here, whether it's any combination of these three, we're going to work together to do what's right, to do what's best. And we'll be a team of 8. Nobody will be standing on their own, and we'll do what's best to move forward with the district.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think everybody has, good intentions and the best, wants the best for the district. If I was gonna leave anybody with anything, I'd say go vote. We live in a society where we get to go vote, and so few people do, which is always surprising to me, but you have a voice in your district. And so, as early voting opens and election day approaches, go vote.
I think going forward, like Drew said and Catherine says, the board's gonna work together. All 4 people up here will be good candidates. I think right now we're going in a good direction, and I want to be part of that to move us forward. I came on here to see some things change. We're doing it, and hopefully I can stay on another 3 years and get through it, and we'll be better for it. But I wish all 3 of these other ones good luck, and if you let me, I'll be for the kids, always for the kids.
Right.
That's always what I've told the superintendent, you're here for the kids.
For me, I'll say one thing. I've been asked several times over the past, since we turned in our board packets, was, what's your agenda? Oh, okay. Well, truth is, I don't have an agenda. I didn't sign up to run for school board with an agenda of benefiting her or him, which is my priority. Husband, father. My agenda is the kids. It is the teachers. It is the district. When I graduated from Kemp, it was a very small town. And when Hunter started and we started to get involved, I see that here. So my agenda is to make sure that his friends, get to experience what we did 25 years ago. So I just want, if you walk out and you say something about Glenn, just say, he doesn't have an agenda. My agenda are the kids. My agenda is making sure that the decisions we make are best for them, best for the teachers, then best for the district as a whole. So if I'm leaving with one thing, that's it. Me getting on the school board, win or lose, is not going to benefit me and my family. If anything, it's going to take time away from them. Time is the one thing that we don't have excess of around my house. So I'll just leave it there. My agenda is I just want to do what's right by them. And that's why I'm here.
So I know we did kind of these series of questions that we already had written, prepared questions. If there are any questions here, as was mentioned, you guys are welcome to share them over to the moderator or to the schedulers, and the organizers can get those to them. I know you guys got a board meeting. Do you want to stay around for a little bit for open
5 or
questions
10
from
minutes
anyone?
for questions from.
No, but I do want to thank y'all for doing this, and these questions that y'all put out there. I will tell you about 75% of them would be good for a superintendent interview. They're really good questions because it sets the agenda for what you want for a good superintendent. And I will also tell you that you won't be able to do it this time, but in 2 years, you need to advocate these questions to your state lawmakers, because there's a lot of good questions in there that need to be dealt with by them, because they set the laws, and they set the laws that we have to follow, and we don't always agree with them, but we have to do it. And so,
Well, thank you all for attending today. Thank